I never thought silence could be so loud. There was a time when this house never rested. Doors opened and closed. Footsteps ran across the floor. Laughter filled the air, even on hard days. Now, the walls listen with me. I am old enough to remember when my children needed me for everything. Old enough to remember when my name was called from every room. Old enough to remember when I mattered every single day. Today, the phone stays quiet. The rooms stay empty. And I sit by the window waiting for a sound that may never come. This is the story of parents who are left behind, not because they were unloved once, but because time, distance, and busy lives slowly taught the world to forget them. When my children were small, my days were never mine. I woke before the sun, cooked meals, packed bags, wiped tears. Some days I was tired beyond words, but I never complained. I believed this was life. I believed this was love. Their father and I worked hard. We planned everything around them. Every dream, every sacrifice, every quiet hope was for their future. We told ourselves, one day, they will understand. When they grew older, they needed us less. That felt natural, healthy even. They went to school, made friends, built lives of their own. We were proud, so proud. When they moved away, we helped pack their bags. We smiled through the ache in our hearts. We told them, go, live your life. We did not say, please remember us. We assumed love would do that on its own. Old age does not arrive all at once. It comes quietly. One day you realize your knees hurt more than before. Another day, you forget where you placed your glasses. Then one morning the house feels too quiet. Friends begin to disappear. Some move away. Some fall ill. Some leave this world quietly. And slowly, your children become your whole world again. Only this time, they are not there. At first, they still called. Once a week, then once a month. Work is busy, they said. Life is hectic, they said. We understood. We always understood. We never wanted to be a burden. So we waited. Holidays became the hardest. I still cooked like before. The same dishes, the same smells. I set the table for everyone. Then, slowly, I removed the extra plates. Sometimes they visited. Sometimes they did not. When they did come, they stayed briefly. Phones in their hands, minds somewhere else. They spoke of meetings, traffic, plans. They rarely asked how we were. When they left, the silence returned even heavier. I watched my partner grow quieter, less talkative, more tired. One night they said softly, I think they don't need us anymore. That sentence broke something inside me. Aging teaches you a painful lesson. You go from being needed to being optional. We still wake early, still clean the house, still cook meals. But no one notices. Sometimes days pass without hearing another human voice. Sometimes the only sound is the television, playing to no one. We sit together, but loneliness sits with us too. People think old age is rest, but it is often waiting. Waiting for calls, waiting for visits, waiting for proof that your life still matters. One afternoon, I fell in the kitchen. Nothing serious, just a slip. But I lay there longer than I should have, not because I couldn't get up, but because I realized if something happened to me, no one would know. That thought stayed with me. I did not tell my children. I did not want to worry them. Parents never stop protecting their children, even when they need protection themselves. There are moments when bitterness tries to enter your heart, when you want to ask, was everything I gave not enough? But then you remember their first steps, their laughter, their small hands holding yours. You remember why you loved so deeply. So instead of anger, you choose quiet sadness. One evening, the phone rang. My heart raced, like it always does. It was my child. They spoke quickly, apologized for being busy, promised to visit soon. I listened more than I spoke. Before hanging up, I said, we are still here. There was a pause. I know, they replied. But knowing is not the same as showing. Old parents do not ask for much. They do not need expensive gifts. They do not need long visits. They need presence, a voice, a reminder that they are still part of your life. Sometimes a 5-minute call is enough to keep them going for days. As I sit here now, the sun setting outside my window, I think about time. How quickly it moves forward, how quietly it leaves people behind. I do not blame my children. The world is demanding. Life pulls people away. But I wish someone told them this truth. One day, the people who waited for you all your life will no longer be waiting. And regret is heavier than distance. If you are listening to this and you are young, call your parents. If you are busy, call anyway. If you are tired, call anyway. One day, silence will answer instead. And if you are a parent like me, waiting quietly, know this: your life mattered, your love mattered. Even if the world forgot to say it out loud, somewhere in the hearts you raised, your presence still lives, even if they forget to show it today. I still sit by the window most evenings, not because I expect anything to change, but because hope, once learned, is hard to forget. The street outside looks the same. Children run past, cars come and go. Life keeps moving, even when yours feels paused. Sometimes I imagine my children driving by, not stopping, just passing, and somehow that feels accurate. People talk about old age like it is peaceful, like everything slows down and settles. But what they do not say is that old age brings too much time to remember. You remember words you never said. You remember moments you thought would last forever. You remember how full your hands once were, and you remember how empty they feel now. I wake up early, even though I do not need to. My body learned this habit long ago, back when mornings mattered. I make tea for two, even though sometimes only 1 cup is used. I like the routine. It reminds me that life once had a rhythm. My partner sits quietly most mornings. They read the same page of the newspaper again and again. Not because the news has changed, but because attention is harder when the heart feels heavy. We do not talk about the children often, not because we do not think about them, but because saying their names out loud makes the room feel heavier. Silence has become our shared language. Sometimes neighbors ask about them. "How are your children doing?" they say with a smile. I smile back. "They're busy," I reply. Busy has become the kind word for absent. I do not blame them. I repeat that to myself often. I do not blame them. But there are nights when sleep does not come easily, and blame tries to sneak in quietly. On those nights, I remember all the times I waited. I waited when they were late coming home. I waited when they were sick. I waited outside school gates. I waited by hospital beds. Waiting was my role for most of my life. I just did not know it would follow me into old age. There was a time when our home was the center of everything: birthdays, celebrations, arguments, forgiveness. Now it feels like a place people used to know. Sometimes I clean rooms that no one enters anymore. I dust shelves that only hold memories. I fold blankets that will not be used. People say this is unnecessary, but to me, it feels like caring for a life that still deserves respect. One afternoon, I found an old box in the cupboard. Inside were letters, drawings, school papers, my children's handwriting, small and uneven, words like, "I love you," written without fear. I sat on the floor and cried quietly, not because I was sad, but because those children loved me so openly once. I wondered when love became so complicated. As parents, we are told to let go, to give space, to respect independence. No one tells you how to let go without disappearing. There are days when my body feels heavier than usual. Simple tasks take longer. Stairs feel steeper. I imagine calling my children, telling them I am not feeling well. Then I stop myself. They have work. They have families. They have lives. So I rest, I breathe, I wait. Once I did call. I told them I was feeling weak. They listened politely. They offered advice. They said they would visit when things slowed down. They did not slow down. That day taught me something important. Sometimes people care in words, but not in presence. And presence is what old age needs most. Time changes your understanding of love. When you are young, love feels loud. It demands attention. When you are old, love feels quiet. It hopes for acknowledgement. I watch my partner more closely now. They move slower. They speak less. One night, they said something that stayed with me. "If I go first," they said, "promise me you won't be alone." I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. We both knew the truth. We are already learning how to be alone. Old age teaches couples a strange closeness. You rely on each other more. You notice each other more. But it also magnifies absence. When the world outside fades, the missing pieces feel larger. There are mornings when the phone rings and my heart jumps. Sometimes it is a wrong number. Sometimes a reminder call. Rarely, it is one of my children. On those days, I feel lighter. I move with more energy. I smile more easily. A short call can change an entire day. That is how little it takes, and how much it means. I once asked my child gently, "Do you remember how often we used to talk?" They laughed softly and said, "Times change." Yes, they do. But love does not have to disappear with time. It just needs effort. I wonder if my children think about us when they lie down at night, if they remember our faces, if they assume we are fine because we do not complain. Parents are very good at hiding pain. We have been doing it since the day our children were born. We hide fear so they can feel safe. We hide exhaustion so they can feel secure. And now, we hide loneliness so they do not feel guilty. There is a strange dignity in that, and a deep sadness, too. One day, a neighbor passed away quietly. They were older than us. Their children lived far away. The house stayed closed for days before anyone noticed. That frightened me more than I expected, not death itself, but the idea of leaving this world unnoticed. I spoke to my partner about it. We sat together in silence afterward. Sometimes fear does not need words. I began writing letters, not to send, just to write. Letters to my children, about my days, my thoughts, my memories. I wrote about how proud I am of them, about how much I still love them, about how I miss them. Writing helped. It gave my feelings somewhere to rest. I do not know if they will ever read those letters, but it felt important to put the truth somewhere. Old age has taught me this. Not all love is returned in the same shape it was given. That does not make it meaningless. It just makes it human. I still believe my children love me. I truly do. But love without time feels distant, like a light you can see but cannot reach. I do not want to be remembered only when something goes wrong. I want to be remembered while I am still here. That is not selfish. That is human. Sometimes I imagine sitting across from my children and saying everything I feel. Then I imagine the worry in their eyes. So I stay quiet. Silence has become my way of protecting them, even now. But silence has a cost. It turns into loneliness. It turns into waiting. And waiting over time turns into grief for something that is not gone, but not present either. I wish someone told me this when I was younger, that raising children is not just about preparing them for the world. It is also about preparing yourself for the day they no longer need you. That lesson comes late, and it hurts quietly. There are still good days. I want to say that clearly. Days when the sun feels warm, when laughter returns for a moment, when memories feel comforting instead of painful. But there is always an empty chair, always a silence that reminds me of what used to be. If you are listening to this and you have parents, hear this gently. They may say they are fine. They may tell you not to worry. Please understand. Fine does not mean fulfilled, and quiet does not mean okay. Your presence is more powerful than you know. And if you are like me, waiting quietly, know this. You are not invisible, even if it feels that way. Your life mattered before your children arrived, and it still matters now. Old age should not be a punishment for a life of giving. As I grow older, I am learning something slowly. I cannot control how often my children show up, but I can control how I live my remaining days. I am learning to care for myself, to find small joys, to speak kindly to my own heart. I still hope, but I no longer depend entirely on hope. And that, strangely, has brought a little peace. If my children listen to this one day, I hope they understand. I never wanted perfection. I never wanted sacrifice in return. I just wanted to matter. While I still breathe, while I can still hear their voices, because one day, time will make that choice for all of us. And when that day comes, I hope love was shown, not just remembered.